Alright, welcome back all of my, anyways. Basically, your boy's joining a Pokemon Draft League, the ODL, the Ogerpon Draft League. This will be my first Wi-Fi Draft League. I've done one Showdown Draft League in the past and thought I'd try out Wi-Fi. It's a little bit better to look at than the Showdown graphics. No shade to Showdown. If you want to know all the rules to this specific draft, I'll link the Discord down below so you can check the doc. Basically, you get to pick one Pokemon and nobody else the whole time can use it, so you really have to choose wisely or else you're not going to have what you need to build the team. And thankfully, this is only the second draft I've ever done. I got first pick of the draft, so I got whatever I wanted to start. My first pick was Iron Valiant. I don't know if you've already noticed, but I decided to go with an avatar theme for my nicknames this season. Iron Valiant hits hard on both sides and is very fast. Great move pull. There's hardly any downsides to this Pokemon. It's not even that frail. It's a little frail. It's not so bad that I can't work with it at all. The 90 defense is really not that bad, and the 60 special defense means I can live probably one hit on the special side if it's not super effective. Next up, I picked Weavile. Once again, it's going to be the shiny variant. I swear not all of them are shiny. I'm not somebody that just picks all the shinies just because. I just feel like these shinies worked for what their nicknames were. And Weavile is, of course, another very fast, very strong Pokemon. I wanted to get my hard hitters out of the way first because I feel like that's what's most important at the top of the draft. The two abilities are kind of lackluster for Weavile, but if I do decide to just not run an item or, run like a Focus Sash or a Pinch Berry or something, then I can pick up another item. Pressure I don't really see being used all that much. And then because it was good synergy with Weavile, I picked up Ceruledge. The Ghost Fire typing really complements the Dark Ice of Weavile. Especially with Flash Fire, I won't be able to take any Fire type hits on this. Or if I wanted to run Weak Armor, I could start boosting my speed. Once again, I picked the shiny one, but you can't actually tell with this one. Just in the eyes. But I swear they're not all shiny. Another hard hitter, that's kind of the way I play, is Pokemon that hit hard. Not always that are fast. I like bulky attackers. I'm just not a very good stall player. This is basically just going to be able to take hits with a decent speed stat, so I'm not getting outsped by like super slow things. It's just a pretty good wall breaker and a really good switch in for most Pokemon that are going to be coming after the other two. Next up, I got Corviknight. Once again, I picked the shiny one, but I swear they're not all shiny. I was really lucky to get Corviknight as my fourth pick. I really feel like it was going to be taken before them, but it wasn't. Just a really good bulky Pokemon. It's got a really good typing. Unnerve could be used to help take out Pinch Berries or whatever. Mirror Armor, I can't get intimidated. I can't have my stats dropped by somebody. Obviously not worried about like sticky webs for this thing, but Pressure if I really plan on having a really stalled out game, but I don't, so I don't know if I'll use Pressure all that much. Next up, we got Swampert. See, didn't pick the shiny on this one. Another pretty good bulky Pokemon with a decent attack stat. Honestly, I could even run it with special attack if I wanted to. It's just a little lackluster in speed, but I am perfectly fine with that. I figure I'll probably be running it Torrent most weeks. Damp is pretty niche. And Water Ground typing only has one weakness in Grass, and I have already got two Pokemon that resist Grass. So I felt like this was a pretty good choice. Also keeps from getting Volt switched on the whole time because I don't believe I picked any other ground types to be immune to electric. Plus it's a good stealth rock setter. So is Corviknight. I can really swap between the two. Alright, next up I got my first Terra Captain. Alolan Raichu. Now if you don't know what a Terra Captain is, in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet you can terrestrialize your Pokemon, which means you can change their types for the rest of the game. We're only allowed 3 Terra Captains. This is my first one. With the ability Surge Surfer, if I get the electric terrain set up, I double my speed. And setting up the electric terrain would also help Iron Valiant, so I thought maybe that'd be a cool synergy thing I could do. But yeah, I mean, it's really frail. It's just here to move fast and hit decent. It's not as fast as something like an Hisuian Electrode. Under electric terrain, it outspeeds it and then some. The only thing I have to worry about is if I set up electric terrain and my opponent has an unburdened Pokemon, like Sneasler especially, that could end up really biting me in the butt because Sneasler outspeeds Alolan Raichu regularly. So that's something to think about if I ever want to set up electric terrain. My next Pokemon is another electric type, Toxtricity. I decided to give a panel for both Loki and Amped because they're not that different, but they're a little different, so I thought that I would give each of them their own spot here, even though they do both, essentially the same thing. Technician, kind of a niche ability for this thing. I don't know if I'll ever run it with Technician, but it could end up being useful. Minus probably won't ever get used because it's not useful at all in a singles format. And Punk Rock, I believe that turns all sound-based moves into electric type moves, which this thing gets Boom Burst, so that's going to hit stupid hard. Other than special attack, its stats are pretty lackluster, but I mean, I could Choice Scarf this thing or run it with some more defensive investment, or maybe even just set up Trick Room or something and potentially be able to blow the whole game out of the water. Depending on how many ground types they have, obviously this is 4 times weak to ground. Then we have the amped up form, essentially the same thing, where plus I'm obviously not going to use. Could run this thing physically if I wanted to. Its attack stat's really not that bad. Plus it gets a few setup moves that I could boost attack, or I could run Technician and use physical moves if I really wanted to catch somebody off guard. Once again, I don't really think I'll run Technician all that often, but it absolutely could be useful. Next up we got Hydrapple. I didn't have a Dragon or a Grass type yet, so I thought that picking Hydrapple would be pretty good. At this point in the draft, I believe Latios was also still available, and I really debated on grabbing Latios, but I thought Hydrapple would just fit the team a little bit better. Plus, I'm grabbing another Levitate Psychic type later. And then, I mean, you got the cool factor, where Hydrapple's one of the new Pokemon, and I hadn't really got to use it yet. Obviously, one of the slowest Pokemon on my team at 44, but all of its other stats are pretty jacked. Super Sweet Syrup lowers accuracy if I wanted to switch it in on something. You can only use it once, but once might be all I need. I think most of the time I'll be running Regenerator to get my health back every time I switch out. Sticky Hold if, I'm worried about getting knocked off or something. It's 4 times weak to Ice. I'm beginning to notice that I have a lot of 4 times weaknesses on my team, but I have good switch ends to those 4 times weaknesses, so I guess I'm not going to worry that much about it. Next up, my next Terra Captain, Charjabug. That's right, I picked Charjabug as my 9th pick. Alright, next up we got Tatsugiri. I needed a Rapid Spinner. I only really had Hazard Removal in Corviknight, which just gets Defog, and that would clear the hazards on both sides of the field. And I kind of want to keep Sticky Webs up on my side if I'm running Sticky Webs that week. So that doesn't make a lot of sense to only have Defog. So I got Tatsugiri for a Rapid Spinner. It's also immune to water type attacks with Storm Drain, because why would I ever run Commander in a singles format? Not the best in terms of HP and defense, but the special defense means I might be able to take a few hits on the special side, and the special attack is kind of phenomenal, especially if I decided to run it like Choice Scarf or something. I wouldn't have to worry too much about my speed anymore, and I can just click buttons. It's also my last Terra Captain, which should help a little bit in my damage output and in my survivability. And last but not least, I got Yuxi, my levitating psychic type that I said I was going to pick. The defense stats are absolutely off the charts, and that's really all I needed it for. I mean, the levitate also helps because I have so many electric types, and it gets great support moves, which all in all is really what I need to put the team together. Cray County Crawdaunts are ready to win the ODL. Signature sign-off.